Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is Zach. Welcome back to Cars and Movies. Today we're going to be talking about the Pontiac Firebird and Trans Am. So on February 23rd, 1967, the Pontiac Firebird was officially unveiled. Pontiac wanted their own pony car to run alongside the Camaro and compete with the Ford Mustang. 1967 is also the year where it just so happens the Ford-owned Mercury brand was releasing their own pony car called the Cougar. So they were definitely trying to sneak them up there, you know? Sneaky, sneaky. Now, furthermore, the Trans Am upgraded variant to the Firebird was officially unveiled on March 8, 1969 at the Chicago Auto Show. All Trans Ams are Firebirds, but not all Firebirds are Trans Ams. Now, with a little bit of history out of the way, we are going to be talking about some movies, we're going to be talking about some TV shows, there's some big ones, there's some not so big ones where it just kind of was in the show in the background. It might have actually just been a car parked on the street and they didn't move it in time for the set when they came in, but other than that, there are some significant shows and movies that we're going to talk about that feature the Firebird/Trans Am. So the Firebird was first seen on TV on November 4th, 1968 with I Dream of Jeannie. I don't know that they could do that today, but it was definitely a thing. The vehicle Roger is driving is a 1968 Pontiac Firebird 400 convertible. The car that Jeannie wrecks is a Pontiac Bonneville convertible. As it turns out, Pontiac sponsored the vehicles driven throughout the series. Now, given that this car is as popular as it is, there's a couple big movies that you've probably heard of, and maybe a couple movies you haven't heard of. And that's the first one I want to talk about today. So my friends and I, we like to get together and watch some bad movies sometimes. It's cool when you sit down and you watch Interstellar because maybe a couple people haven't seen it and it's really, really good and everybody loves it, but you have to sit there and just kind of be quiet the whole time. Whereas you can sit there with a remote and somebody can go, hey, wait a minute, and you pause it and we just start ripping jokes. It's just silly B-movie stuff. So if you're into that, great, go for it. I don't know what you like, I don't know what you don't like, but it is just dumb. This movie is called Dead Hooker in a Trunk. And that's the plot. The whole plot, the whole thing, it's about a dead hooker in a trunk and trying to fix that problem. Now, the car that the dead hooker is in is Pontiac Firebird. What do you know? I loved it. I remember seeing it and thinking, that's a cool car. And it breezes right by. It's not integral to the story or anything, except the trunk, because there's a dead hooker in it. You get the point. Now, the first movie we're gonna be talking about today is The Matrix Reloaded. Big Hollywood blockbuster. There was a massive car chase scene in the second film of the Matrix trilogy. It's a trilogy. I don't count the fourth one. We're not gonna talk about it anymore. So it was used in this massive car chase scene. And I remember reading somewhere that it took them, just forever filming that car chase scene because they had so much time. They had so much time in that car chase scene. And it was a big, big difference from the Cadillac EXT and the Lincoln Continental. Bada bing, bada boom, there's a huge Firebird. Interestingly, Andy Wachowski, one of the directors, ended up keeping the car that was in that scene and auctioned it off in 2009 for a charity called Donors Choose. So that was the first big blockbuster movie, but now we are going to talk about Smokey and the Bandit.
Ho, ho, ho! Well, God almighty, would you look at that? Beautiful, huh? Honey, hush.
This car was iconic for Smokey and the Bandit. So iconic, in fact, it increased sales while it was in theaters. When Smokey and the Bandit was in theaters, Pontiac saw a significant increase in sales of the Pontiac Firebird and Trans Am. Let's go over some numbers here. Now let's be clear, Smokey and the Bandit, when did Smokey and the Bandit come out? So let's be very clear, Smokey and the Bandit came out May 27th, 1977. Now in 1977, they were popular as it was already. They sold 68,745. The following year, that number increased almost 25,000 to 93,351 vehicles. Oh, the year after that, you ask? Oh, okay, 117,108. That year, 1979, they surpassed the Camaro. So anecdotal evidence of those numbers that I have in my own personal life is my grandmother, on my father's side, we call her Nana. Nana went to go see Smokey and the Bandit, and within the week had a Trans Am. I mean, immediately. She was just taken by it. She wanted one. It was the coolest car she'd ever seen, so she went and bought one. And that's all it was. It was just the coolest car anybody had ever seen, doing the coolest stuff anybody had ever seen. So people bought it. They wanted to be that cool. So I found some interesting facts about the Trans Am that was used in Smokey and the Bandit. Now, some eagle-eyed viewers will probably watch and even know, just off the top of their head, that the Firebird that was used in Smokey and the Bandit was a 1977 Pontiac Firebird. But they'd be forgiven for that mistake because it was actually a 1976 Pontiac Firebird. GM provided a new bumper so that they could just take the bumper clips off and slip on the new one, because they knew the movie was coming out the following year, so they wanted the newest version of the car. That was the one people were going to be seeing. Now, another fact, the decals on the hood scoop said 6.6 liter. Now, it was a 6.6 liter displacement, but they were the 1969 model stickers, because the 1969 model had 300 horsepower, whereas the 1977 model, when it came out, only had 200. It had 2/3 of the horsepower of a vehicle that came out a decade prior, and unfortunately that's just what the gas crisis does for you in the 70s. Now, the engine noise that came out was not from a Firebird or a Trans Am. It was actually from a 1955 Chevy Custom. Apparently some of the producers didn't think that it sounded intimidating enough, so they found another one and slapped it over in the editing room and called it a day. GM decided to provide 4 vehicles. 3 were for the movie, and then 1 was to drive around as a promo vehicle. Now, all 3 of the vehicles that were used in the movie were destroyed. 2 of them were in early production, and then the other one was in the famous bridge jump scene. The only one that has any ties to the movie now is the promotional vehicle that they drove around the country. Now, the final vehicle, the promo vehicle, was lost for years until eventually it popped up at a 2016 auction in Scottsdale. It was driven up on stage by Burt Reynolds himself. He hopped out, signed to the hood, and the car was sold for $550,000. So there's not as much info about the second movie, Smokey and the Bandit 2, but that's kind of just how it goes, I guess. It had a 4.9 liter turbocharged V8. And even with that, the production team actually had to use nitrous to help it for the burnout shots. All right, now we're gonna talk about some TV shows. And by TV shows, I mean the TV show. I'm talking about Knight Rider, okay? KITT, Knight Industries 2000, AKA, was a 1982 Trans Am. It was a normal production car, 5 liter displacement, 150 horsepower, top speed of 125. So out of approximately 20 or so on-screen cars, all of them were destroyed, and only 5 of them exist today. The best part is we know where all 5 of them are. So Hasselhoff himself kept one and then auctioned it off in 2021. Couldn't find what it was bought for, but the top bid at the time was $450,000. One is owned by a private collector and was loaned to Jay Leno for an episode of Jay Leno's Garage. One of the original 3 from the first season was auctioned off in 2020 to a private collector for $192,000. Now, one is in the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles, California. It's on loan from AJ Palmgren and Joe Heath. They have another one that they keep as well. They have one of the original trucks, I believe. They have a whole YouTube channel called Knight Rider Historians. You should go check that out, looks really cool. Now, a couple celebrities that own a Trans Am, not many. The only one I could find was Burt Reynolds, which is fine because that's the guy you want to be owning a Trans Am. So there's a bunch of other movies that this car is in. 2017's It, Joe Dirt, Gone in 60 Seconds, the 1974 original version, Highlander, Rocky II, Terminator 2, Billy Madison, Guns Akimbo, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, my personal favorite, Dead Hooker and Trunk. This car's been around forever. It's probably just gonna be in movies from now on until Pontiac decides to come back and then bring back all their cool cars. Pontiac had some cool cars, man. They had the GTO, they had the Trans Am, even newer, I thought the Solstice was kind of cool. Pontiac had some sick vehicles, man. They did some cool stuff, man. Yeah, I would rather have a newer Firebird than the new Camaro. That's it. A bunch of other shows that this was in as well. TV show Dukes of Hazzard, Full House, Archer, Dexter, My Name is Earl, Xena Warrior Princess, Hawaii Five-0, Walker Texas Ranger, The Sopranos, Freaks and Geeks, Dwight's Car, in The Office, Longmire, Cobra Kai, MacGyver. The list goes on. It's such a cool car. It's in everything. Everybody thinks it's a cool car. So, hot take, I would have rather seen GM shut down Chevrolet and then keep the Corvette brand as just Corvette. It's not a Chevy Corvette, it's just a Corvette. And then you get a Z06, you get a Grand Sport, like you have that way, and keep Pontiac. I think their design language was just better. I think it was little, I don't know how to say it, edgier, if you will. It was a little riskier. It might not be for everybody, but it looked cooler. So I think I'm gonna end it there. Let me know what you think down in the comments about my hot take. And remember to like and subscribe, share this with your friends, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.